Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I am looking like a youth today, haven't I? Am I right? So let us now invite the Honorable Minister of Youth to please come forward and tell this nation what he is doing in that sector. So distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I now have the singular honor and privilege of inviting Barrister Inuwa Abdul-Kadir, Honorable Minister of Youth Development, to come and talk to Nigerians. Honorable Minister, sir.
It's not possible. All the story going to be tricky. Just the Honorable Minister of Information, my senior comrade Abraham Maku, my elder sister Ajay Zainab Maina, member of the Federal Republic, and Honorable Minister of Women Affairs and Social Development, the permanent secretaries that are here with us, the chairman of the NYSC Governing Board, Chief Gordon Mozimo.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I am looking like a youth today, haven't I? Am I right? So let us now invite the Honorable Minister of Youth to please come forward and tell this nation what he is doing in that sector. So distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I now have the singular honor and privilege of inviting Barrister Inuwa Abdul-Kadir, Honorable Minister of Youth Development, to come and talk to Nigerians. Honorable Minister, sir.
Going to be tricky. Just the Honorable Minister of Information, my senior comrade Abraham Maku, my elder sister Ajay Zainab Maina, member of the Federal Republic, and Honorable Minister of Women Affairs and Social Development, the permanent secretaries that are here with us, the chairman of the NYSC Governing Board, Chief Gordon Mozimo, management staff of the various ministries are here with us, the Directors General of the NYSC, the Citizenship and Leadership Training Center, Commandant of the Man of War Bay, the leadership and members of the Boy Scout movement, the leadership and members of the National Women's Societies, and other non-governmental organizations and civil societies that are here with us and of course, distinguished gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen, fellow Nigerians that are watching us and listening us on this very important platform created by my brother, Comrade Labran Maku, under the direction of His Excellency Dr. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, Grand Commander of the Federal Republic. It's a very rare opportunity, and it is a history making that the President directed that ministers should come here and present their stewardship, because it's part of democracy, it's part of the citizens' right to know what public officers are doing, especially at the ministerial level. This is a culture that I think most probably the British are more known to. And since the inception of this country, or rather since independence, since when, especially this republic, it is only under our able president that this opportunity was created. I thank also again my friend for laying the foundation in his introductory remarks of what the Federal Ministry of Youth Development has been doing in the last 12 months at least. So it has taken care of some part of my introductory remarks also. But for clarity purposes, I will say that youth as a concept which varies from culture to culture and society to society has various different meanings, because progression from childhood to youth involves some systematic rites of passage. These rites have their own symbolic significance, which makes an individual achieve a new status in the society. Those boundaries defining the transition from childhood to youth and from youth to adulthood are shifting and cross over into each new state and are manifested in different ways. But for a universal understanding of who is a youth, and particularly within the context of our country, the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and the National Youth Policy, recognized boys and girls that are between the ages of 18 and 35 who are citizens of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So therefore, reference to boys and girls, young persons or youth, in my presentation and elsewhere when any government official is making reference to this category of people. Therefore, youths are categorized, or rather characterized, by energy, enthusiasm, ambition, creativity, and promise. They are also faced with high level of social and economic uncertainty and mortality, thereby becoming the most vulnerable segment of the population. They represent the most active, the most volatile, and yet the most vulnerable segment of the nation's population. Nigeria is endowed with a young population which is a very great asset for all times and purposes, for all intents and purposes, I mean. Well, number of countries who are said to be developed are already grappling with aging population and scarcity of young adults. This demographic dominance of young people highlights the importance of investing in them, being the country's greatest resource because they account for over 60% of our population. Many projections were of the view that throughout the 21st century, this demography will prevail. In realization of this potency and importance, a full-fledged Federal Ministry of Youth Development was created for the first time in 2007 by the Federal Government of Nigeria in order to empower Nigerian youth to become self-reliant and socially responsible. Ladies and gentlemen, for clarity purposes, the Federal Ministry of Youth Development is a ministerial organ of the Federal Government of Nigeria directly responsible for policy formulation, for integration, planning and collaboration among stakeholders for development of policies and programs, laws and other initiatives that promote and enhance the development of Nigerian youth and the protection of their interests. Therefore, to discharge the responsibility for overseeing and coordinating the national youth policy at all levels of government, other implementing agencies, and non-governmental organizations. It has also the supervisory responsibility for specialized agencies concerned with youth development. These activities and programs of the ministry are tailored largely as a model for all the 3 tiers of government and other stakeholders concerned with youth development. I am happy to report in 2012 the following milestones: been working in collaboration with the ministry to implement youth-friendly initiatives, some of which include training of youth development officers at its youth-friendly counseling and servicing centers located in Osun, Kaduna, Plateau, and Ogun states. In conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Health, also, the ministry developed and produced a national framework on adolescent health for the country. The ministry also developed strategic action plan for the National Youth Council of Nigeria, NYCN, which seeks to position NYCN for greater performance and efficiency. The UN Habitat. The Ministry of signed a memorandum of understanding with UN Habitat to establish a one-stop youth development and information center in Nigeria. The UN Habitat supports the ministry to develop a framework for managing its youth centers also. The International Ecological Safety Collaborative Organization, ESCO, which is an observer organization of the United Nations concerned with ecological safety and environmental issues, is in partnership with the ministry and developing a mechanism for green jobs and other environmentally friendly initiatives for youth engagement. Particularly, ESCO will train and certify 1,000 trainers in China on green jobs, climate change, and other wealth creation opportunities. And subsequently, under the MOU, similar institutions and training will be replicated in Nigeria. The ECOWAS Commission. The ministry supported 12 Nigerian youth to participate in the annual ECOWAS Youth Development Program, training for youth in agriculture and electrical works, which were held in Shanghai, Fortunovo, Benin Republic, and Ouagadougou in Burkina Faso, respectively. The beneficiaries were supported with take-up grants by the ministry. The Commonwealth. 12 youth development officers from the ministry participated in the 2012 edition of the International Program on Youth Entrepreneurship training in Zambia. Also, the University of Abuja is currently running a Commonwealth professional diploma program on youth development on behalf of the ministry as part of drive to professionalize youth development work. The ministry has also developed a strategy to provide 10,000 jobs in 2 years in collaboration with the Commonwealth. To this end, a technical advisor has been deployed by the Commonwealth Secretariat to work with the ministry from 2013 to 2015 towards achieving this. During their under review, the ministry has developed and initiated seven policies initiatives. 1, we introduce leadership, value orientation, and reorientation programs as part of components in the youth development empowerment programs throughout there. We introduce a national patriotic campaign for the young people, scaling up and sustaining youth development empowerment activities through the public-private partnership arrangements. There is also a scaling up and strengthening of partnership with relevant MDAs and other non-government organizations. We undertook also initiate a reform of the National Youth Council of Nigeria. We also developed a framework for national mentorship program. We have commenced action on restructuring of the ministries, departments, and units in line with Commonwealth's recommended standard. For the first time in the history of this country, ladies and gentlemen, the ministry commissioned the National Bureau for Statistics for the first time to conduct a nationwide survey on the status of youth in Nigeria for development of National Youth Index. The survey covers areas of youth in education, health, employment, agriculture, migration, information and communication technology, conflict resolution, crime and drug abuse. The data is being processed and the outcome will be published soon. The intention of this survey and indexing of youth development is to have a peer mechanism whereby the federal government will assess both local government, state, and even its own MDAs of how the young persons in Nigeria fare in these vital sectors as mentioned earlier. The ministry also has upgraded in 2012, upgraded its website on to Youth Development Virtual Resource Center, which will commence operation today. The ministry has 2 agencies under its supervision. 1, the National Youth Service Corps. The National Youth Service Corps, which after 40 years of its establishment, have the need to review policies, restructure, and realign the scheme in tune with the transformation agenda of the government cannot be overemphasized. To achieve this, a committee was constituted to carry out this assignment. I created some of these new core members that will be serving in some of these establishments, particularly the financial institutions that will be retained and permanently employed in this regard. Then on the adoption of information technology, efforts have been made to have an integrated data between the National Universities Commission, the universities, the JAM, and the NYSC. This will effectively eliminate fraud and fraudulent practices by some prospective core members, staff of the scheme, and other Nigerians who are engaged in those fraud, so that the NYSC will always be ever ready to have a clear data of the core members that they will mobilize at a particular given time, and also for government to have a ready-hand data also of graduates, particularly those who have served in the NYSC scheme, that will be readily marketable for employment either in the public or private sector, and other forms of encouragement, especially in entrepreneurship program, which the federal government is ever concerned about facilitating young people to create jobs for themselves and become employers eventually. Also in that regard, the revival of NYSC farms. As you can see, we have the emphasis the federal government is putting more than ever is to engage, to encourage and train young people, especially even the educated ones, into an integrated agricultural programs that will make them set off their own ventures and become self-employed, self-reliant, and employers of others, and also contributing to a multiple production of agricultural produce in this country, which will certainly improve on the economy of the country. The Citizenship and Leadership Training Center is one of the oldest national institutions in the country, having been established in 1951. Its mandates are to provide citizenship and leadership training, as well as to establish and manage man-hour organizations. The center partnered with a number of state government for training and reorientations of various categories of youth to be good citizens. For instance, it has conducted a number of programs, particularly for states and local governments, for federal government colleges of education, federal government colleges, and including private individuals into becoming good citizens and have a leadership training, as well as reorientation of these young people. I give example of always Gombe State, where the center last year trained about 350 young people who were disengaged, or rather through that process they engaged from political thuggery. The notorious Enkalari is a group of thugs in Gombe State who are restless, who are involved in so many crimes and criminality before that time, before their rehabilitation and reorientation by the center at Shere Hill Schools in Jos. So now these thugs have become fully rehabilitated, they have been reoriented, and are now engaged by Gombe State government as health and environmental inspectors. This and so many other programs were conducted by the center during their under review. In the same vein, the man-hour repositioned itself and now has a functional national command office. State command officers have undertook a program in information technology, and also the man-hour was reintroduced in citizenship and leadership education in most of our schools, and is the commencement of a program towards reorienting and reinvigorating such kind of organizations in our schools and even in our base organizations in the churches and other mosques. So also toward this, CLTC has recorded an increase in patronage from clients both in public and private sectors. The ministry under review in this sector, we have undertaken very important stakeholders engagement during the year. We held the 5th National Council on Youth Development, where very far-reaching decisions and recommendations that came out of the meeting, that we intend to undertake an effective anti-drug abuse campaign program. This is a resolution of that council that the Federal Ministry of Youth Development under the Federal Government of Nigeria should undertake this very effective drug abuse campaign program, realizing and appreciating the menace of drug abuse that led to so many youth restiveness, so many crimes committed by youth and the criminality that they were involved. So we thought that undertaking of this program will also assist in reorienting the minds of these young people to better themselves and for the betterment of this country. Arising from that meeting also, a program of action, national program of action of value orientation and effective engagement of youth was also a part of the resolution that we should pursue. One, I should relate to you, ladies and gentlemen, that so many of us will know that a lot of efforts have been made by all the three tiers of government, institutions, including individuals and non-governmental organizations, towards empowering the young people, towards their education, towards their giving them skills and entrepreneurship. But because of the menace of drug, and also because the way they conditioned their mind, this mindset of getting rich quick, etc., that all this amount to failure. Because one, training will be provided for that young person, all what he needs, and at the end, some grants and facilities are also given to him. But to the dismay of so many of us, so many Nigerians, that outside the graduation ground and ceremony, that you see these young people selling out these items that they will have used to start up something or partying with the grants given to them. So we felt that this orientation program and the reorientation program should be vigorously undertaken. One, it's a bit difficult, those who have reached certain age, to give them a kind of orientation. But that's why the CLTC is very ready to do the orientation program and rehabilitation program, because they have reached a certain age that you cannot effectively orient them towards a particular target. But this orientation program, that is a segment that you have to catch them young, from schools up to universities. And those who are out of universities, certainly, or who have not even attended any school, what they require, like the thugs, these political thugs and militants, requires reorientation. And this requires the collaboration of all and sundry, the clergy, parents, and leaders of our society. And that also entails that we, the older ones, must live above board and show good examples. So this is a program of action which we have formulated, which will be rolling out both by all level of governments, particularly local government, states, and the federal government of Nigeria. And I believe will be very much assisted by the Federal Ministry of Information, the media, and national orientation, etc. Arising from that meeting also, that there is a serious indication and concern that we should continue with National Youth Index survey, so that to ensure that we measure up to the expectation. Given the number and the population of young people, certainly the federal government alone, or even the three tiers of government, cannot ameliorate the problems. But we have to measure and see what we have done, what we have achieved, and that will enable us to organize further and see a way forward. The Part of other engagements that concerned youth development and their mentoring particularly, we held the second sitting of the second session of the Nigerian Youth Parliament, which was convened sometimes middle of last year, and they have passed a number of resolutions which were passed on to the appropriate authority, particularly to Mr. President. The Nigerian Youth Parliament also held a town hall meeting in Mina, Niger State. We had recorded the establishment of state youth parliaments in Bauchi, Oshun, Kano, Benue, and Akwa Ibom states. The Commonwealth Youth Parliament also had their regional sitting in Uyo, Akwa Ibom, all in 2012. We mark the African Youth Day in 2012. The National Youth Council of Nigeria consultative meeting was held, part of efforts to transform the council. This year's International Youth Week was celebrated and was conversation with ministers and chief executives of some MDAs and agencies of government. At that event, some ministers had interaction with representatives of the Nigerian youth that came across Nigeria, and particularly the Minister of Trade was there, the representative of the Minister of Finance, and also the chief executives of the Bank of Industry, Bank of Agriculture, the NAW Fund, etc. were there, and they have a very useful engagement with the Nigerian youth representative at that event. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we had a lot of challenges, just like any other institutions that is relating to human endeavor. Our ministry is very peculiar as rightly observed by the Honourable Minister of Information, that we constitute and we are concerned with constituents of over 60% of the Nigerian population. They are vulnerable, as we said. Their vulnerability, we urge, have to be exploited positively. What I mean here that there is the need to encourage them. There is the need also to invest heavily on them, because whatever we do, the future of this country really lies on these young people, the boys and girls, because whatever we may plan today, we may see, and will be what will be the future of this country in the next few years to come. Many people will say that these are the future leaders of this country, or the future leaders. That's an age. That adage is becoming obsolete, because right now, as we have it, they are already in leadership position, these young people, because they control information. They have the power to manipulate this information. They have more access to this information. They are the most productive segment of our society. So what are we saying? One lesson is for us, the older ones, is to give them the right guidance, not to abuse them, not to take advantage of their vulnerability and their innocence. Every person has a role to play, from home to school. There is very essential. So that's why this etiquette, the issue of value orientation, is very paramount, and that's why the federal government of Nigeria is taking it serious and will be undertaking a value orientation program from schools to cinemas to everywhere, so that to ensure that these young people have good values. We developed national values. There are so many segments of values, but what is important is for us to inculcate and imbibe these good values on our younger ones, because all other things will go to nothing. all other things that we may be thinking we are doing on behalf of these young people, if we do not change their mind setting, if we do not give them good value orientation, certainly it will go to nothing. I will take this opportunity to say that, for instance, we Nigerians, where we abuse where we take advantage of this vulnerability of these young people is that we are fond of undermining whatever is Nigeria, whether it's a product, whether it's our leadership, etc., etc. It is we that are involved in writing in the newspapers, in the various blogs, in the various social media, and castigating our leadership. If we say that Nigeria is bad, what do you think our children, since we are the ones saying that our Nigerian leaders are bad, and they read all these items on the net, what are we saying? Then it means that this country is bad and they should lose hope, so they should do whatever they like. So what I employ us is to, and that's what the federal government is concerned, that is all what transformation agenda is all about. Transform ourselves. We should begin to think good about ourselves and about our leaders. We cannot be perfect. Every other person has his own shortcoming. Every other leadership in every country. Ours is a very great country. We are endowed with so many of these things. In fact, the current statistic is that Nigerians, especially the young people, is one of the highest number of people having access to the net. So which means they have access to information, they can share information, and this, we all know that now even through the internet, ICT, a lot of jobs can be created. Just like Indians are now heavily relying on ICT for a larger proportion of their economic growth. So we can do that in this country, but it's only achievable if all of us will support government efforts in encouraging these young people to use this God-given talent into a better use. So, and I also urge to take this opportunity to urge, especially employers of labor, entrepreneurs especially, to make good use of the youth corpus, the NYSC core members who have the talent, who have the zeal, etc. Not just to be seen as a cheap labor, as a source of cheap labor or a source of abuse. We know and we are aware these are our own children. We have to make good use of them. Many people are willing, and a number. I'll give you an example. Just a few days ago, when the NYSC mobilized for the batch B of this NYSC orientation, a father came with his child that he wants him to be relocated. And moment after he left, the child came back that I should tell his father that it's not possible because he wants to go and survive. So you can see the resilience of these young people. And you see, it's just because the father feels that his son has to serve where he's staying, where he's working in Abuja. So it is all about us. It's all about whatever government does. If we do not have this support, it will not go anywhere. And lastly, I will round up this presentation by thanking once again the Ministry of Information for creating this platform, because it availed us an opportunity to interact with Nigerians and hear their criticisms, that especially those who will make constructive criticisms. We are ready to answer any question. We are ready to embrace any useful suggestions where we can improve in delivery of service to the people of this country. We are here to serve. We do not have the monopoly of knowledge, or that we are working or operating in isolation with other Nigerians. That's why this platform was created, and is a way Mr. President is just presenting himself to these people of to the people of this country, to present them through these MDAs, through his ministers, and so that we can respond positively and responsibly to the earnings and aspirations of the people of this country. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
That was the presentation by the Honorable Minister of Youth Development.